Well, when you came back from there, what's the next stage? Do you stay at your current station for a little longer, or do you get posted somewhere else?
So I went back to Waddington just to sort of say hi. I'm back from the Falklands. You know, I've made it. And it's not long before I'm told I'm posted, which is what I wanted. Most people do get posted between stations and bases every sort of 2 to 4 years, depending. And I asked for a change. So I asked to go to RAF Wittering, which is sort of Lincolnshire, Cambridgeshire border, just off the A1. A lot of people know it by driving past it on the A1. So it's like a big aircraft outside front. And so I got posted to Wittering, again in a med centre role, and back to the same old job that I did at Waddington, really. So still worked in the main admin office. There's also elements where you work in a pharmacy and in stores and doing hospital referrals. And yeah, that's what I did until the end of my career.
Okay. And what rank are you at this point?
Same rank, same SAC. So once I did trade training, I became an LAC.
Which is?
If I go back to the beginning, so when you're in training,
Yeah.
you're an AC, so that's just aircraftman.
Okay.
So that's like the military have.
Private?
Yeah, is that your training rank?
Well, engineers is sapper, but as
Yeah.
an infantry or something,
So
it's private.
we probably split that up. So we have AC, which is what you have in basic and trade training.
Okay.
And then once you've done your trade training and you straight away become an LAC, which is a leading aircraftman/woman. And then once you've proven your job and your actually technical ability during your first base, it could be like 12 weeks, not really that long. That's when you become an SAC. So
Okay.
that would be like Lance Corporal. So yeah, so private going into Lance Corporal, I guess, is like us going from AC to SAC.
Right.
We just have a middle bit to say
Yeah.
that we've done the training, but we're not quite competent to be an SAC just yet. And then, so yeah, I'm still an SAC, which is like a Lance Corporal,
Okay.
whatever the Navy is. I have no idea.
We didn't mean to say it in such a disrespectful way.
No, I just...
Whatever the Navy is.
Well, there's so many different versions
Yeah.
of the same rank.
Yeah.
And like the Army, you have names depending on your trade, like sapper.
Mm-hmm.
But for the RAF, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what your trade is. You will be SAC.
Yeah.
So...
So you're saying that the RAF has an easier...
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I know, though. Once you're in your one service, that's all you know.
That's all you know.
You know,
Exactly.
until you get to a bar and you meet someone, you're like, oh, what are you?
Yeah.
So,
It's like doing this podcast. I've learned so much about different countries and different services within those countries
yeah.
and what ranks they have and go through. And I'm slowly learning it. I can't remember it all, but it's just good to learn. And yeah, what you just shared there is no doubt going to teach some of us.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank you. So yeah, your second station.
Second station was
Witterington?
Wittering.
Witterington.
No turn.
No ton?
Wittering.
Oh, just Wittering.
Yeah.
Trying to put the British twinging.
Trying to make it more RAF. I don't think you can. But so I just worked in a med centre, going between different officers inside that, and that was it. Yeah.
And more sport there?
So I was still playing rugby. I came back and I think I went to the Falklands in September to December 2013. And then I came back and played rugby for 2014. But then that's when I got injured. So I played the games earlier in 2014. And then when it came to October 14, I was at a training camp at Holton, which is where our basic training is. And we were just doing like a normal training session. And I think I either put my right thumb against a ball or the floor or something. And I think I just sort of sprained it, just pulled it back. And it was a bit of a niggle. And at the time I was like, oh, absolutely nothing, just get it strapped up. And typical medic treatment is just tubey grip and a bit of ice and a plaster, smiley face on it, and you're good to go.
Ibuprofen?
If it's really bad.
If it's really bad.
Yeah. And yeah, I played a game the following day, still with like this sort of niggle thumb pain, but I was still able to do a tackle, just use my head and shoulders quite a bit. And yeah, it wasn't until really when I finished that weekend training and I got back on a Monday back to the med centre, and quite fortunate I work in a med centre, so I can just see the doctor fairly quickly. And I just said, look, I just sprained my thumb, nothing much. What do you reckon? And they were like, oh, let's go for an x-ray. And it said I had like widening in the joint or something. And I just thought, oh, that's just rubbish. It just means it'll settle, it's just a bit swollen and it'll be absolutely fine. But it never did. So afterwards I had physio and they were like, yeah, let's try all these exercises, you know, bendy, bendy, wiggle, wiggle. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. You know, I'm usually a good patient. I just do what I'm told. But no, medics are rubbish patients and we don't do what we're told. But you do the best of a bad situation. And I remember having physio and this was going weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was like, this is silly. It was just a sprain. You know, surely it will just, even if I don't do anything, it will get better over time and then I can continue. But I found that it was just getting sort of harder and harder to like hold a pen or to put pressure against my thumb joint. And yeah, it got to the point where I had to be downgraded, which meant I wasn't fully fit to do my job. So I can still treat people, but I probably couldn't do any sort of heavy lifting because I sort of found it awkward and painful on that part. And with downgrades, you're downgraded for 6 months at a time and you can get upgraded at any time. But as soon as it's 18 months worth, you have to go for a medical board, which basically just means going to another place where they specialise in downgrading and they just check that what you are fit to do and what you're not fit to do within your job or whether you have to limit your duties. So it got to a point where it was 18 months after spraining and I just thought, this is ridiculous. And at the time it was starting to affect the rest of my hand. So my fingers were starting to get weaker and my grip was going and I would have this sort of tremor and it would just sort of shake every time I try and move it, but I just couldn't still pick stuff up. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. I thought, I played rugby, you know, I swam, I did all this stuff. How was just a thumb stopping me from doing my job? And I was probably very in denial about it, thought, oh, it was just absolutely fine, and didn't realise the seriousness of what a med board was, because that appointment can change your life. You know, you can find out whether you're fit for your duty and you can continue back to your job, or it can stop everything and that's you kicked out of the military. And surprising for me, I found out that you can't really be a one-handed medic very well. And so, and because they, at the time, it was affecting my hand, and I was having treatment at Headley Court, which is the Defence Medical Rehab Centre, and I was seeing all these physios and doctors and exercise rehab instructors to try and get grip on my hand and using different exercise tools. And I tried everything, but it got to a point where you just can't do it anymore, and it's just affecting everything you do. And so I went to this med board and they were like, I'm sorry, you're unfit for service. And that was all I was told. And I was like, how can this be? I've got a left arm, you know, I've got 2 legs, I'm absolutely fine, I just can't grab stuff. And they just said, look, this is the reality of it. It's got worse over time. You need to, you know, actually accept what's happening. It's not a sprain. It's obviously something that's much more than this. You've had all these tests, you've had treatment, you've been to Headley, and it's 18 months after a sprain. It's more serious than this. And I was just like, wow, this can't be happening. You know, I feel like I've failed being an Olympian. I failed being a PTI. And now for the 3rd time, I've failed being a medic. And I was just like, wow, what am I going to tell my parents? What am I going to tell my boss? You know, I went there with the attitude of, oh, it's absolutely fine. They'll just say, you know, no heavy lifting or something. And no, that was it. I got told, thank you for your service. Unfortunately, you're unfit for it. Fill out these forms, goodbye. And that was it. I was just like, wow, shit, what do I do? I have no backup plan at all. Felt like a failure, felt like I let everybody down, wish it never happened. And I remember calling my sort of med centre deputy manager up, and I said, yeah, unfit for service. And they were like, no, you're joking. They just thought, no, not you. That's not who you are, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. I've just been told I'm unfit for service. I can no longer do my trade. And that's me out of the military. And so they were just like, okay, you come in tomorrow, we'll have a chat, we'll sit down and we'll talk about the next steps. And I was like, oh, what do I wear? What time? Where? When? You know, I've always been told what to do, where to go, how to do it. And they were like, whatever time you want. And all I kept thinking was, what time does that mean? You know, I need a time. And I said, okay, I'll be in for like 10. Let's say 10. And they were like, yeah, okay, we'll see you then. And then I remember, because I drove myself there, I didn't want to take anybody with me because I thought it would just be like a quick 5-minute in and out business. And so I was driving home and I thought, I'm going to have to tell my parents. I'm going to have to be honest. I can't hide it anymore because all they knew is that it was just a thumb sprain and I was just going for an assessment. And so, yeah, I called my mum up. She was like, okay, I understand, but let me put your dad on because he takes sort of situations like this a little bit better. And so I told my dad, and yeah, he was just like, it's okay. You know, you'll be fine. Things happen. We'll figure it out. You'll do something else and you'll move on. And I was just like, wow. My dad's never said that before, you know. He's always been a sort of a business mind, you know. And yeah, he was actually understanding of what was going on. And he said, it's fine. I was just like, wow, absolutely emotional now thinking about it. But
yeah, it's kind of like bringing yourself back to reality after you walk away from the med board, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Then, like you say, giving you that it's not even an ultimatum, they're telling you that's the end.
Yeah.
And you've had such a great career with all the things you've done and achieved. It's a shock to the system. And no doubt it was emotional at that time as well for you.
Yeah, I was still in denial. I was like, oh, I'll wake up tomorrow and it'll be a dream, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I remember my parents were about to go on holiday, I think the next day. And I ended up meeting them at an American diner on the A1 to sort of celebrate leaving. And I was just like, all right, I've only just been told, let's not rub it in. But you know, burger and chips, milkshake, and you're happy again. And
did they give you any time frame, or was it literally next week?
Not at the time. They just said, we'll be in touch. We'll let you know.
Right.
They have to like fill out all the paperwork and send it to your med centre, which, unfortunate for me, that was my job in the med centre, to retrieve downgraded paperwork.
Oh, no.
And so I kind of downgraded myself.
Right.
So I had to do my own, you know,
paperwork.
You're leaving. I thought, oh, could I change this? But yeah, no. And yeah, I don't know if that made it harder. Like they didn't actually do my medical when I was at my med board. So we have to do like a full body assessment to check what works and what doesn't.
Right.
I think I had a new guy. So I had to have the medical done by my own doctors. And so that was strange because they're almost like your work colleagues and your friends.
Yeah.
When actually they're doing your medical for you to leave. And I was like, oh, this is hard. Let's just be quiet and let them wiggle things around. And yeah, then I had to speak to the welfare officer, where part of my job in a med centre was to liaise with him to sort out people that were leaving the military. So I'm like, well, I won't email you because it's me. And he just said, yeah, I saw your name. Gutted. And I was like, on a plus side, I know what happens. I know the paperwork I've got to fill out, and trying to make into a lighthearted, you know, situation. And I still didn't know when I was going to leave. All I knew is But they offered me all these courses. I had to do like a resettlement course.
Okay.
And just the word resettlement course just sounds boring. And I just thought, oh God, it's going to be PowerPoint and someone telling me that I need to do this job and that job. And I couldn't be bothered at the time. I just thought, whatever, I'll do it to tick a box. But actually, it was really good. I learned I had to actually own a CV because I'd never had a CV before. And I never put on paper what I've actually done in my life. And so it actually worked out for the best. You need to sort of believe in the system sometimes. And I sort of turned into a yes person, because before that, I'd probably say, oh no, why do I need to do this and this? Why do I need to do a certain course? Where I almost had to change my mindset and say, actually, just say yes. Just shut up and get on with it. If you don't like it, think of what your mum said. You can walk out. You can walk away. You can go home. I don't care anymore. And yeah, so I did all these courses, and I went to Tedworth House, which is the Help for Heroes HQ, and did these courses on what it's like to be in the workplace. And we went to a local company, and they spoke to us about what it's like to transition. And yeah, I just thought, you know what, let's not lose this opportunity. I'm still in the military, I've not actually had my end date just yet. Just keep yourself busy, because if I didn't, I think my skill would actually be I can eat a sharing size pack of Doritos as a single serving and watch 10 hours of films, and that was it. If I wasn't on a course, I was on a sofa, or I was dragging my mum out to a coffee shop. And little did I know, I spoke to her the other day and she said, yeah, we drank a lot of coffee. We used to go out every other day to a different town just to have a coffee shop. And my mum's like, yeah, we spent a lot of money. But I just didn't realise I just needed company, because I live on my own. I didn't have that anyone to sort of vent to apart from my parents. And my brother and sister have their own families, so I didn't want to bore them with, me moaning. And so my mum got the bad end of it. But luckily these courses were great. They were absolutely, I met some friends for life. It's one of the main ones I went to was called Battleback at Lilleshall, which is West Midlandy area, Shropshire type way. And it's run by the Royal British Legion. And it's basically a multi-activity course that you can do. And it's for those who are either injured, leaving the military, or in between places and treatments or whatever. You can just learn how to adapt and to have fun playing all these different activities. It's not always sport, but naturally I enjoyed them the most. But yeah, I made friends for life, and it was someone there, a good friend of mine, who told me all about the Warrior Games and the Invictus Games. And I was just like, what on earth are you on about? What drugs are you taking? And he's like, well, do you do a bit of sport? And I was like, well, I've quit. I'm not touching sport ever again since I had that sprained thumb. That's why I'm here. Moaned at him for quite a bit. And he's like, yeah, you need to get back into it. I'm like, no, I don't. Every time I touch it, I'm injured, or I'm annoyed, or I smell of chlorine, And I just said, no, that's not for me. And it was until the end of this activity course, I sort of learnt how to do kayaking and riding bikes through the woodland area and all sorts, water polo, the works. And I was just like, if I look at my time on this course, the only time I smile is when I'm in a sporting environment. So there's got to be something there that I need to trust the system for. And I was just like, as long as I don't compare myself, something new. And yeah, and then I thought, what was that you were telling me about on day one, this games thing, And he's like, yeah, you got the Warrior Games, which is what the Americans have. And it's obviously competition between different services and all these wounded, injured and sick servicemen. And he told me all about it, and he said, yeah, there's also the Invictus Games. And I was like, I'm sure I've heard of it, but you have to be an amputee, right? That's what I had this, that's all I see on TV. And he's like, no, don't be silly. You don't have to be an amputee to take part in these games. You know, it's for anybody. You know, mental health, physical health, really doesn't matter. It's all about helping you recover and learning a new skill at the same time, or something that you could actually use in everyday life and make new friends. And I was like, well, it sounds like a really cool camp. You know, maybe I'll get free stash. It's all about the kit.
Yeah.
And he said, actually, there's a try it day. And there was one near me in Nottingham. And I was like, oh, I'll think about it. But I knew in my head, in my heart, that I won't turn up unless I'm with someone. I had this complete, I don't want to turn up and be sort of turned away for not being an amputee or for being rejected for one reason or another. You know, you can't see my injury. You just know that I have it. And luckily, my friend lives not too far away, literally like 45 minutes an hour away. So I said, oh, can I meet you in the car park? And so we went to this try it day, and they tell you all about both games and what sports are available, the fact you can actually adapt, which I never heard of before. Apart from the Paralympics, that was the only adaptive sport sort of situation that I've ever sort of heard about. And I was like, wow, you can actually do all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, you know, you told me that you had a bit of a sporting history. What did you used to do? And I said, oh, nothing. He's like, no, tell me. Or as you know, I'll hit you in the arm or something. He'll beat it out of me. And I said, oh, well, I swam a bit and I played a bit of rugby. And he's like, great, they've got swimming. And I'm like, no, I quit. And I never touched a single sport since that rugby sprain injury. I just thought, no, not for me. It's obviously a sign. And found out I actually know quite a few people at that try it day. There was people that I had friends in common, or we've heard of each other's name one way or another. And the military sort of family becomes this close-knit one that you don't realise how closely you know each other. And actually, you probably were on the same base at the same time. You just never actually said hi. And yeah, I thought, actually, you know, we'll give it a go. I signed up saying I was interested, that I thought I could still walk away. This is not actually happening. And at the same time, I was still going through resettlement and trying to figure out what a CV is supposed to look like and try not to eat too many Doritos.
Have they given you a date for your end date of the military yet?
Not at this point,
Not at that point, no.
It was a little bit further on. So I signed myself up saying I was interested. So they had some like weekends away where you could try certain sports that you think you might want to take part in.
Okay.
And I originally signed up for indoor rowing. I think it was just indoor rowing at the time, because the lady who showed me on a try it day said, yeah, you can change the handle. And I said, oh, but nobody rows. You know, it's a rubbish sport. It's the one machine in the gym that everybody walks past because it's horrible. Unless you want to go on the bike and then watch an episode of Friends and slowly pedal. That was my exercise, which is shocking when I wanted to be a PTI. It really is. But, and yes, I thought, I'll give sitting volleyball a go, because I thought, bum shuffle, hit a ball. I'll learn it, see what it's all about. Bit of a team sport. And it was at that time they said, we're doing all these camps, you can sign up for it, and then at the end of it you can decide and apply if you want to actually consider going forward for either the Warrior Games or the Invictus Games. And it was at that point I remember applying, but I was told what my end of service date was.
Okay.
And so it was about 12 weeks left roughly. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, I've done majority of my courses by now. I've done all the resettlement side of stuff. It's just a case of working out what I want to do as a job. And annoyingly, I saw a career guy at the same time, and I filled out all these like online assessment forms that you have to do and see what characters you have and abilities, and it'll tell you like a list of careers that you could possibly do. And annoyingly, it said I could do administration in a medical atmosphere. And I was like, that was my job in the military. I was a medic, doing med admin, but I've just been told I can't do. and it was I was like, that's so surreal. But then it dawned on me, but actually, you've got the military side that you can't do as well. So I couldn't hold a weapon. I couldn't probably do CPR as effective. And it's the sort of the battle side of stuff that I wasn't able to do, even put a respirator on one-handed.
Yeah.
And then I thought, actually, that probably was the correct decision when I sort of realised it wasn't just a case of opening up a plaster. It was a lot more than that.
So it became clearer at that point.
Yeah, definitely. At the time, I was just like, oh, don't know what they're on about, but they've made a decision, And I was at this point where I knew I had to get a job, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But annoyingly, I was told what I did was what I should do. And I was just like, okay. And then I remember at Headley Court seeing posters around for a new centre they were building because Headley was actually going to close. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I worked in a rehab place where I've just been a patient? And little did I know, they were building it in Loughborough, which actually is not that far away from me at all. And I was like, that could work, It'd be like a halfway house. I'll be in the military, or I'll be in a military atmosphere, but I won't have to salute anyone or call them sir or mum, Yeah. But the hardest part is you would have to choose what to wear. You don't no handbags or high heels. You'd have to actually pick it up. And it was during this time with these sort of the time I was applying to say, you know what, let's try and do the Invictus Games and the Warrior Games. It all sort of happened at the same time, which kept me busy, which was probably the best part about it. Because if both of them didn't happen at the same time, I probably wouldn't have the confidence to go for the other. So it sort of worked together, really, which was quite perfect timing for me.
Kind of aided in your transition.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think
back to Civvy Street.
You get to a point where if you're not doing anything, you almost digging yourself a bigger hole and you're getting worse. And I had my mum telling me, you've got to apply for a job. And I was like, yeah, I will. And I was looking at local hospitals thinking maybe I can just do med admin, forgetting that my injury was my right hand, which is my dominant side, and that I haven't actually written anything left-handed yet. That was what I sort of didn't realise. I sort of forgot that I almost had an injury because I just sort of ignored it and left it alone. And at this same time, my injury was actually getting worse. So rather than just being sort of a hand at a time, it was slowly going up to the elbow. And every time I was bending my arm, I would start having this tremor, this shake. And my fingers were almost becoming sort of like dead, like there was no functional use at all. But to look at it, it looks absolutely fine. But and I thought, well, I'm going to have to really look into this because I can't do just any old job. I can't like pick up a box very well or, treat anybody on the physical side. So I sort of made that decision that actually I did enjoy being a medic. I can just do the admin side, like the annoying computer test said, just do admin in a medical atmosphere. And then, I was looking at NHS jobs and I thought, it's just not the same. Are they going to understand my awesome banter and my great character and attitude? As long as they start after 10, because I'm not a morning person. And I looked into it and I thought, maybe, maybe not. And then, perfect timing, the new Headley Court place was actually built and they just started the interview process. And I was like, that's great. Let me put in an application. Not done this a while. They'll understand what I write down if I do like acronyms in the military world. And I went straight through the interview process. And I originally went for like a welfare admin job because I thought, I've been around patients quite a lot. Maybe I just want to see a different aspect to it. Maybe I'll do the welfare side or the accommodation side and sort of see a different side of it. And interview went well. I remember trying to crack a joke, which was rubbish, but they laughed. And I was like, absolutely fine. And I was trying to justify why adminers like cups of tea or something like that. And I thought, where on earth has that came from? I've never mentioned tea before. I've never mentioned an admin joke before. But they sort of put me at ease. And luckily they were military because there were military staff interviewing, but they just happened to interview civilians for this position. And yeah, strange enough, I didn't get that job, but they offered me a different position that they said I would suit more. And they said, oh yeah, it's fourth generation. I was like, what on earth is fourth generation? But I thought, they're offering me a job. Mum was like, say yes. And I was like, okay, I can always walk out. That was the life lesson. And so I was like, I accept. And I was like, I've got a job. And so then I could relax, knowing that whatever it is, I'll learn on the job, figure it out, and I can always say no to. But I knew I had that stability, because you get to a point where once you've had your last day in service, you're no longer getting paid, and it's out your own pocket. And that's when it dawned on me that actually I have savings, but I don't want it to go. You know, I need to actually get this job squared away and sorted. And so so I knew then job was sorted. I can just concentrate on the Invictus side. And yeah, did all the training camps, absolutely loved it. Met all these new friends, because I found when I left the military, I lost friends as well that I thought were friends. And then you find out, yeah, you're not that close. You were just more colleagues. And you always promise to stay in touch, but you never do. And yeah, I got to a point where they said, oh, I'll put the application in. And I was like, all right then, you know, why not? Let's just put it in for giggles and just see what happens. And complete shock after all that time, they said, you've got a place on the Invictus Team UK team. You are going to Sydney.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm going to Sydney? Do I get kit? and
So
yeah.
When did they tell you that? Was that the year before? Or?
So the games were 2018, so it was the end of 2017. Yeah, so I left the military Feb 18, but the games were end of 18. So it sort of, as training started, was as I left the military.
And you just got that job sorted
when
as
I
well.
just got the job.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that happened.
That was
but
great timing.
Everything worked out perfectly. I don't know if it's fate. I don't know if I believe in miracles, but...
And where's the new Headley Court then? Because it has moved, hasn't it?
So it's in Loughborough now. So it's still called the Defence Medical Rehab Centre, but it's now called Stanford Hall, not Headley Court.
Yeah.
And so weirdly enough, I now work in the same place or under the same centre name as I was as a patient. And it's within the outpatient. I found out fourth generation actually is just the main name for all the admin officer staff. And you can sort of move around different teams, but they'll put you in a certain team when you get there.
Right.
And I found out it was the type of job that I was shying away from, and it was with patients, and it was like doing all their appointments and referrals and all that sort of stuff, when I thought, let's try something different and go for welfare. But then I found out they were like, no, we want you to do this part of the job.
Nice.
And little did I know that is exactly as being a medic, using the exact same systems, exact same way. And half my friends were the patients, because I met them at Headley and they were still in the treatment phase. And it was a bit of a shock when I turned up, because my own doctor who saw me only 6 months prior was my consultant and I was his admin officer. And so we were now staff, not consultant patient. So that was really awkward. He was like, what are you here for? You've not got an appointment. I was like, I've got a job and I work. And out of all teams they put me under the upper quadrant team, which is the exact part of outpatients I was a patient under and having all the treatment with and the rehab courses.
That's crazy. That's probably one of the best transitions I've heard
So
to date.
I now give other people appointment letters and get them on rehab courses. And I know exactly how they feel, which is the best part of the job.
Amazing.
They come in and you can tell they're scared. They've just been given like devastating news about injuries or whatever. And they're like, you know, what are the courses like? And I'm like, well, prepare to be sat down for a very long time. I've been on 3 inpatient courses. I've been a patient under Headley for years, under this exact team. I know all about the staff. And yes, I hated them too, but I did eventually learn that they were nice. They were trying to help me. But as a patient, you hate everybody and you blame everybody else for your injury.
Have you tried to repay the PowerPoint aspect?
No, no PowerPoint anymore. And yes, and now I can actually be open and honest and say, I know exactly how you feel. I know it's daunting when you come here. You're in a room with 6 other staff members all staring at your injury. And it's the best feeling in the world, giving back and explaining that I've been there myself.
That's great news. That's great news. And then alongside that, you get selected for the first Invictus Games
Games.
You tried out for.
So it's my life suddenly gone from hectic to rubbish, hating everybody, to then happy and hectic again. But I like it, it keeps you out of trouble. And I was still in denial about my injury. I still didn't accept it, but I was turning into a one-armed person, even though I have 2 arms. And my injury was still slowly getting worse over time. And even when I went to the Sydney Games, it was sort of elbow-ish, shoulder-ish sort of height. And I could make it tremor if I had to move it in a certain way, almost like a party trick. But that was when I really realised that I need to do one-armed sport. And I sort of learned that about adapting sport is okay. And it's not embarrassing. You shouldn't be afraid or daunted. It's just a different way to actually do the sport. It's not a wrong way. It's not a disadvantage. It's just an alternative way. And yeah, I remember being selected for the games. I was with I was home alone at the time. My parents were on holiday again. And I remember calling them up saying, I've just got an email. I'm in Team UK. And they were like, really? I was like, hold on, I'm not sure. And I hung up, checked the email again, called back, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure that's what it says in bold. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And following that, you then have to have the announcement, and you get all your kit, and you meet all the rest of the guys that are on the team as well, and you have reserves as well.
Did you say you get kit?
You get kit.
Free kit?
Free kit.
Stash?
Yeah. Not the most important part, but, it's great memories,
It's definitely a theme throughout your whole career.
Yeah, all about the kit. Should see my attic. And yeah, I remember the process to the games. You have to attend all these training camps for the sports. And even before selection, I was only originally interested in rowing and sitting volleyball. But I didn't realise my friend who I met at the Trite Day put me down for swimming. And I was like, I told you I swam, but I didn't tell you I was going to apply for swimming. And that was when on the application I just thought, you were allowed to put in as many sports as you wanted and you can always drop out. And so I said, okay, I'll do sitting volleyball, I'll do rowing and I'll do swimming. But I know that I can always say no to them and pull out before the games. There's no pressure at all. And so en route to the games, I wasn't selected for sitting volleyball because you have to select certain people for the team. But I was absolutely fine with that because it really hurts your bum. And your bum shuffling, it's a lot. I didn't realise how hard sitting volleyball is, especially as a one-armed athlete. You're not very mobile. It's probably, you're more functional if you have a lower limb injury because you can actually move both arms to move your body around. Where one-armed, I was sort of, if I fell to my right, I sort of face planted. There was no sort of stopping myself.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as mobile really. So I was kind of glad I wasn't selected for that one. And so I was selected for indoor rowing and swimming. And I was like, oh, bloody swimming. It always comes back to me one way or another. I said I quit swimming. I said I quit everything, but I'm obviously really rubbish at quitting. And yeah, the games happened. It was September 2018? October? End of 2018. I can't remember the exact dates. And I just thought, I've never been to Australia before. I've never done sport in front of my parents before because you're allowed to take 2 members of your family with you. And I chose my parents, even though my sister and brother were pretty jealous and weren't happy. But I did explain to them that they both have children and there's only 2 spaces. So you either have to not take your husband and pick your favourite child. So, I chose my mum and dad. And naturally they said yes to attending, and it was the best experience of my life. I absolutely loved it. It was such a game changer, and the way I mentally see things, and just accepting that you can do adaptive sport and it is absolutely fine to be doing it in a different way. And it was the first time my parents have ever seen me swam one-armed since the Commonwealth Trials 10 years prior, because I just would not let them see me doing anything one-armed, because I just felt like I was ashamed, I was a failure again, that they would compare and they'll be like, oh, well, you could have done that faster. When they wouldn't, that was just me playing tricks on myself and beating myself up. But I actually allowed them to see me swim one-armed. And I remember coming out the pool and just crying. I was just like, why am I crying? You're better than this. And I realised that actually we all understand each other's game. We know exactly what each other feels like. They know that was a hard thing for me to actually accept and do. And I knew that they accepted me with an injury. And I could actually do sport and still be happy and not compare myself. And that was probably the first time I ever realised that life does go on and you're not defined by your injury.
I have a question on the swimming though.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it being adaptive. How did you adapt?
I swam one arm.
Did you tie your other arm or?
You can do,
Yeah?
but I prefer not to.
Okay.
I because at the time it was sort of elbow below, sort of there was no sort of actual function. I sort of had to learn to swim one-armed, left arm only. But in my mind, I thought I would be like Nemo, going around in circles.
Okay.
I'm glad there's lane ropes I can bounce off. But actually, because of my swimming history, I learned how to compensate and go against it. And yeah, it wasn't too bad, actually. I think it takes time and it does feel weird. And you have to kick like hell. Otherwise, you do just sink. But yeah, no, I left my right arm as it is, just floating by the side. And
Okay.
I purely just did left arm only.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you get out there, you get told you need to do some swimming.
Yeah.
We're picking you for swimming. You're going to do some swimming.
Yeah.
And then the rowing.
Indoor rowing,
You
yeah.
got selected for the rowing as well. So how did that go? Because I'm guessing there's like qualifying events.
So you don't qualify for the Invictus. It's purely each country has their own way of selection. So for UK, it's all based on your recovery journey. You don't have to be the best, the fastest, the strongest. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's purely what are you going to get out of this? How is this going to help you move forward in your journey? And where I think like American or maybe Australia, it's like they do some trials and it's the top so many spacers get it. And I'm sure it changes over time, but I think that was what they did for Sydney. And yeah, I get there for both of these sports. And in indoor rowing, my events were 1 minute sprint and a 4-minute endurance. And so for the rowing, I've adapted so it's basically an indoor row machine that you find in a normal gym. So it's got like a big fan at the front and a chain with a handle that you pull towards yourself and like a sliding seat. And so for me, being one-handed and one-armed, the handle I have a different handle, which is like half the size, and it sort of pivots on itself, so I can pull it to one side of my body, which sounds okay, but when you actually do it, you sort of forget how strong your legs are. You have to sort of compensate with one arm strength to try and hold off the rest of your body. And 4-minute endurance does feel like half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I don't know why I'd sign up for these things. But I thought, hey, let's give it a go. And then the swimming, the same. I swim one-armed. And me being me, I did all of them, all the events, because I just thought I could always pull out. I'd rather enter too much and pull out, and rather than regret not putting your name in. You can't sort of add yourself in.
So what were all those events?
So I did 50 metres freestyle, 50 metres backstroke, 50 metres breaststroke, and 100 metres freestyle. And we had a team relay as well.
That does sound like a lot of swimming.
So yeah, and it was a 50-meter pool, so it was 1 length for the shorter ones and 2 lengths for the big one. Yeah.
And what was the outcome?
So I did better than I expected, but then I don't know why. I think all my aims and my goals were to smile at the end of a race. Don't compare yourself to your past, and don't sort of criticise your own achievements. And that was the main thing. I tried to keep it simple, but the indoor rowing was the first event, and there was 3 of us in my class, in like the one-armed class. And you don't, just because there's 3 of you, doesn't mean you'll all get a medal automatically. So they do it as I'm sure it's called something, but it's basically, they'll only, if there's like 4 of you, only 3 of you will get a medal or a trophy. And if there's like 3 of you, only 2 of you will get it. So the last person won't get it. So you can actually fight for it.
Yeah.
And it was 4-minute endurance was first. And I tied first with, I think, American lady, possibly. And it's never happened before to actually tie in a race exact same meter, which is pretty hard to do even if you tried on an indoor row machine. And we both tied gold medal.
Nice.
And I was like, what just happened?
First event.
I was like, oh, okay. This is complete shock. And I never really thought about medals. And people say it all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, you'll do well. But for me, it wasn't about medals. It wasn't about achievements. It was more about I just wanted to be happy and actually have new sporting memories that I can just go away from. And yeah, remember my mum jumping up and down and cheering, and my dad was there smiling. I thought, oh my God, my dad is smiling. And he is a smiler. But you know when they really, really, you know, go for it. And I'm like, blimey, they're happy. And then doing the medal ceremony, and I was just like, how is this happening? This is a crazy event. Forgetting that I've got a second event like an hour later. So I then went back and did the nicer event, which is just a 1-minute sprint where you just go for it. There's no planning or pacing or anything. And it happened again. I tied gold medal with the other athlete.
Really?
So all 3 of us in my category, we all got gold medals, and all tied to each other. Wow. Which again, has never happened before. I was like, you just can't tie, because meters, it's literally like 100th of a second, like equivalent. It just doesn't happen. But the fact that I tied with both of them for each event was amazing. And it was kind of perfect, really, because we could all walk away going, yeah, we've done our best. And yeah, you know, got a nice little medal with a nice memorabilia with it. And so, yeah, first 2 events in my first race, 2 gold medals.
Nice.
Crazy. I was like, on a rowing machine.
Hang on a piece of equipment that you said people just walk past it. So.
I walked past it. I never touched it. It's just a horrible machine. And yet now I'm like, oh, this is good.
A double gold medalist.
But I had to remember that, you know, I felt good in myself.
Yeah.
You know, I actually achieved something. I didn't downplay it or criticise or say, oh, I could have done that better, or why didn't I do a faster start? You know, I actually came away going, I just put myself out there, tried something new and gave it my best shot, and one-armed.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I was really happy about that. That was really good.
That's good. That's a great start.
And bonus with medals, that was a great memorabilia, definitely.
And so was that the only event you did that day, or did you get to have a rest before swimming?
No, it's each sport's on a different day.
Okay.
Some of them have 2, depending if they don't take as long. But rowing is quite popular. It's really good adapting. I think that's why it's popular. So quite a lot of people do it, whether you a triple amputee, double amputee, you know, you have all your limbs, or you've got mental health or anything. Anyone can use the row machine. That's the perfect part about it. And the atmosphere is like a constant roar. Like, we get a good old Team UK chant going, and you can tell the guys that have been to previous games, because all their family have like saved a big section. They've got flags everywhere, and they've got the front row and everything. And yeah, it just really makes you sort of proud you're representing your country again. You know, we've all lost that military career, and well, not everyone, you can obviously still do it serving if you're injured in that, but yeah, it's just that feeling of pride again, that you actually can go out there and just give it your all. So yeah, I had a good rest the following day, and I remember waking up going and looking over and seeing the medal boxes, and I was like, wow, that really happened. But the adrenaline you get, oh, it's amazing. I now get why sort of professional athletes do it so much. So it's quite addictive, that adrenaline, you know, to sort of really go for it. And then I think 2 days later was when the swimming was. So I chose to do all the events in the end. I felt pretty good. You know, I was sort of on a high from the rowing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, let's just do all the events. But as I did each one, I could always choose if I wanted to pull out. You know, I just thought I'd go with the flow, because it sounded like a lot of events. And I didn't know how much sort of strength I would have by the end of it, or if I'll be sick of chlorine smell. And yeah, so the first event was 50 metres freestyle, and it was quite I think we had a full pool. So we had I think it was 2 heats. Well, it was supposed to be 2 heats, and then someone pulled out, so it ended up being a straight final. And for that event, I came second.
Did
and
you?
Got a silver medal.
Nice.
So I was like, wow. And I went straight. I actually finished it and smiled. And I thought, I've just done a swimming event and not actually moaned that I've missed, you know, none of this Olympic dream. There was no dream. It was just a case of just doing it. And yeah, I finished it and I thought, oh, I've got a silver medal. This is amazing. But, and that's how the rest of the day continued. So I had 50 metres backstroke, second.
Nice.
50 metres breaststroke, second. I'm trying to remember now. A few years ago. They didn't do butterfly.
Okay.
That was one stroke that they just don't do.
Okay.
I don't think that would get anybody interested, to be fair. And then I did 100 metres freestyle, where I came third.
Nice.
So I had really good competition, which was great. You know, where rowing, there was only 3 of us in my category, but for swimming, there was quite a few of us. It was quite about 6 people in each event. So you really had to it just felt good when you're sort of against someone with similar sort of abilities, and you can really go for it. And so, yeah, I came out of that day in a much better mood. I can say I've swam for my country, even though I missed out on Team GB and the Olympics. I've actually done what I said I wanted to do as a child. My parents accepted, you know, this is how I'm swimming now. I've completely accepted them on how I believe they felt, and they actually do feel, they do support me. And I feel like this massive sort of cloud has now suddenly dispersed, and I can actually move on in life. I think that was all I had to do, was to get back in the pool, create a new memory, and just learn how to smile again, just to be happy, stop criticising. And yes, you can still do sport. You know, just because you're injured doesn't mean you can't do it. You know, you've just got to be brave, take that first step, and learn that, yes, you're doing it different, but it's the right way for you, you know. And that's my new mental attitude now. You know, just give everything a try. You can always walk away from it, which annoyingly is what my mum said when I was younger. But she was right. I was wrong.
She was right.
Yeah.
And what a memory you created, you know,
Definitely.
swimming in front of, your parents, but for your country,
Yeah.
and walking away with 4 medals. I mean, that's amazing in itself.
Unbelievable. If someone said, you know, this is what's going to happen, I wouldn't believe them at all. It was such a shock. But now I've done it, I feel so much better. You know, I can actually be happy again and enjoy life and not worry if I haven't had a PB or anything, because I just don't care about that anymore. It's all about these new friendships, and you can do sport for fun, not for competition.
And believe in yourself as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. And you don't have to, just because something's happened in life and, you know, you feel bad or you might feel like a failure. So that was my main thing. It doesn't mean you're going to feel that way forever. You just have to find a way, and it might take time. You just got to be patient.
Yeah.
But when it works, it works.
That's good.
It's the best feeling in the world, yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, great way to, well, see out your first Invictus and
Definitely, yeah.
and return from there. And then you obviously had to start your new job and learn all of
Yeah.
that. So there's so much going on. Do you then continue with your sport when you come back to the UK? What does that look like?
So during the actual process before the games, I made quite a few friends who were in a similar situation and left the military and injured and that. And I found out one of them actually lives locally to me in the next town. And so I came back and we just said, right, let's meet up once a week, twice a week. We'll go for a swim one day and we'll go to the gym the next day. And we said as long as we both go, we'll both keep having fun with it. And that's all we ever did. We probably talked more than we actually swam or were in the gym, but we actually both had, this new friendship and this new understanding of what we've both been through. And she actually went to the Warrior Games where I went to Invictus in the same year.
Oh, nice.
So we actually swapped kit and we had a good time about it. So yeah, I came back with new lease of life. Let's enjoy this job. And yeah, I just did exercise for the fun of it, not because I had to, So yeah.
That's cool.
New me.
New you.
Yeah.
And so did you get enticed to apply for a future games after Sydney?
At the time, they were starting to advertise. They said, the next Invictus Games will be 2020 in The Hague, Netherlands. And I was like, do I or don't I? I thought I've had such an amazing experience. I could do it again, but I don't want to deny someone else of that, position or whatever. And again, I thought, I'm going to go to that try-it day, but this time I'm going to go as an ex-competitor, been to a previous games. I can offer out advice and help out the staff or whatever they need. And more just a chat, just to meet up with everybody again. So some of the team all decided, we'll all go to the same one so we can all see each other. And little did I know, I was helping kids on row machines and telling them how, this is how I row, how would you row? Show me. And I kind of had that sort of lease of like, do I, don't I don't know, but I'll keep thinking about it. And I bumped into my rowing coach there, who was my rowing coach for Sydney. And she was like, well, did you get everything that you needed out of it? And I was like, well, I did. But the one thing that I still believe I want to work on is confidence. I always, I came back as if, I'm absolutely fine, move on in life. When actually, I still found it hard to go to places without a friend, without a buddy, or meeting in a car park first to walk in. But once I'm in, I'm absolutely fine. It's just those first few baby steps. And they were like, well, why didn't you apply again then? Try and use this time round as confidence and offer advice to anybody that's newly applied. So I was like, well, actually, that does sound like a great idea. But again, I don't want to take a position that someone else might need more than me. And they were like, you're not. You've got to think about your recovery, not their recovery. If they, want to apply, they can apply, And I was like, actually, she had logic reasoning, and I was like, yeah, you are right. I'm just trying to talk myself out of it almost because I don't want to feel guilty of taking someone else's spot. And so I applied for the 2020 Games and did the same process, went to the training camps, and then it came to application time. And this time was slightly different.
Okay.
So on the application, it said, what you're applying for, why do you want to do this and all of that. And I said, I want to build my confidence and be able to sort of walk into a building on my own and actually say, I can do this. And there was also a section saying, do you want to be vice captain or captain? And I was like, I've been told to consider it, but I always thought they were just messing about. I never really took it seriously. So we had amazing captain and vice captains for Sydney. They kept us all on our toes and in the right place and the right advice. And it got to a point and I was like, well, actually, if I do get selected and it is a second time, then why not? Why don't I just tick a box? I can always say no. I could always walk away with it. And, there's a pattern going on here. And, become this yes person, give it a go. Don't downplay your life. Don't say it's just a niggle. And I just thought, why not? And so I applied for the games. I ticked both boxes, vice and captain. I thought I'd give myself, I don't know, every opportunity to do whatever. I thought they can make the decision if they think I'm capable or not. And it again came round to selection time. And then I remember getting this email, and I was at my sister's house for this one, sat on the kitchen worktop. And we opened up the email, and it said, congratulations, you're going to The Hague 2020. You're part of Team UK. And I was like, I've done it again.
Nice.
I'm going again. Holy moly, this is crazy. And the only extra part I got in this one was we have also invited you for an interview to be considered for captain or vice captain. And I was like, an interview? What? And then I realised I ticked a box, and that changes a lot of stuff. So I then got told I had to go for this interview to be considered for both roles, because that's what I put down for. And I was just like, what do I say? What do I do? Never captained anything in my life. I was just a little SAC, just putting plasters on people's boo-boos. And yeah, I remember going for this interview, and annoyingly enough, I had an issue with my car the day before, and it was completely broken down, couldn't drive it. So I had to get my dad to cancel a meeting of his to chauffeur me to London for a 20-minute interview and then bring me all the way back whilst I was crying my eyes out because my car was broken and it was going to be a big bill. And but he's a good distraction, my dad, so he always, there's always a joke or a dodgy radio channel that he has to have on in his car. And I remember turning up for this interview, and they said, you don't need to prepare, just walk in, be yourself. And I was like, that's even harder. How are you supposed to be yourself? And I walked into this room and I realised my rowing coach is now the new boss of the team. Great, I know her, she knows me. And the Sydney captain was also in the room. And the head of the friends and family part, where I took my parents, was in the room, as well as another delegation member. And I was like, I know these people. This makes it a whole lot even harder, because I can't even... Not that I would play on anything or lie, but they know who I am. So I didn't know whether that helped or hindered. And as all interviews, I luckily didn't make any jokes about cups of tea and adminers. But I just said, just be open and honest and see where it goes. And I remember saying that I've never led anything in my life, led a buffet line. That's about it. But... I said, I've got the experience. I've got that medic mindset where I can, have that caring atmosphere and help others to build on themselves, and at the same time work on my confidence by actually approaching more people and getting out there more. And it seemed to go okay. And I was like, oh, that seemed okay. Sort of trying not to doubt myself or criticise what I was saying. And I was trying to see who else was going in for interview, because they did it at such a time that you didn't really cross each other. But you sort of catch eyes in car parks and you're like, oh, you're in a suit and you're at Tedworth House. That doesn't really happen. You must be here for an interview. And luckily I knew a few of the guys from the Sydney team that also applied. And a couple of new ones as well who were new to Invictus Games. And it was probably about an hour into the drive home, I get a phone call. And I'm like, Dad, I think this is it. But it can't be this soon. They must be saying, no to all the guys now, and then everyone else will get told later or something. It was just too quick for a decision. And I got a phone call from the chef de mission, who was my rowing coach for Sydney, saying, Rach, we want to offer you the position of captain. And I was like, you're joking. Are you absolutely sure you want me? And they're like, well, if you don't want it. And I was like, of course I want it. I ticked the box, you know. And just like that, they said I'm the first female captain for Team UK that they've had in the 4 games that there's been. And yeah, you're not only going to The Hague, you're leading the whole entire team of 65 out there.
Amazing.
I was just like, wow. I was so in shock that I just generally thought that I'll just go along, see how it goes. But little did I know that I would actually be in that position. And my dad kept saying was they obviously see something in you that you don't see yet.
Absolutely.
But you're gonna build on it.
Yeah. But this would definitely help build your confidence, right?
Definitely.
First female team captain
of
Team UK for the Invictus Games.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you say it, right?
Oh, it's crazy. I believe it now because it's unfortunately with COVID, it's been delayed a few times. But yeah, to actually, like, we had the announcement day, so we had to keep all of this a secret, and we were under embargo for quite a while, a good month or so. And it was the hardest secret ever. Like, you can tell your close family, so obviously my parents knew. But I was just like, I just want to shout it out. I want to say, look, this is where I've got to. You could be the next one, you know, let's gear each other up for it. And yeah, you get to the announcement day in London, and that's when I thought, oh, I'm going to be the one front and centre in front of all these people with the world press in front of us. I hope you're good at interviews. So I had to prepare speeches. I've never written a speech before. I had to get 2 ready. One for when we met with Super Dry, because they were one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
And then again at the after dinner, in front of like a couple hundred people, all in like the circle tables like you get at a wedding for like 10 people on each. And I was like, I hope they have a microphone on a stand because I can't hold a speech and a microphone. And it's always little things that I kept going, oh, did I say this? Have I mentioned this? Forgetting that they know that I'm one-armed, and of course they've prepped it all and sorted it all out, and I haven't had to ask for my food to be chopped up. They've just done it all because they know me better than I know me. And yeah, next minute I was on a stand after one of the MPs spoke, doing a speech to a few hundred people that I've never done in my life, talking about, you know, how we're going to get this amazing team successful at the games and everyone, you know, achieving their goals.
After that speech, did your confidence grow?
Oh, yeah.
I
was like, if I've done this, I can do any speech. But it's still nervous every time.
Of course,
and you have to try and remember why you're doing it and who it's for and your sort of audience. But yeah, I thought, yeah, that's kind of done it. And we've not even got to the games yet.
No.
So originally they were supposed to be in May 2020. And we did all the training up until March, sorry. And that was obviously when COVID hit. So we had to stop training in March, and we literally did our last training sessions. We were prepared. We knew exactly what we're going to do in our events. And yeah, we get told we can no longer train together, wait out for information. And then the pandemic happened. And so the games were cancelled, and we didn't know whether that was going to be cancelled for good, whether we've done all that prep for nothing, not for nothing, but, you know, for no games at the end, when realising that actually we've all improved so much just by having the training. You don't need the games. That's just like the cherry on the top. And yeah, and we're just in this sort of limbo mode. And then next minute during, like between lockdown 1 and 2, I think we get told it's been postponed. So it's still going ahead. We were like, thank goodness for that. You know, we really want to finish off what we started. And it was going to be May 21. And I was like, great, you know, we got a year. I can finally get on a diet that I've been trying to do for the last so many years. And oh no, lockdown 3. But the game's cancelled. No longer going. I was like, oh no, this has happened again. What on earth do I tell the team? How do I keep their motivation going? You just have to learn that you need to rest and recover as much as everyone else does. Just have time for yourself. And that's all we've done as a team lately. It's just, you know, we had our own little training sessions. We're back on training now. But it gets to a point where you just need to stop everything and just let your bodies and your mind recover. So it's such a whirlwind of a journey. You need that time with your family because training does take over your life at times. And then we get told, oh, the games, they're back on again, third time lucky. And now it's looking really good this time. So it's going to be April 2022, but it's still going to be the 2020 games. And if you're like me and decide to get a tattoo and you put 2020 on it, it's bit of a funny joke at the moment. So my first ever tattoo when I went to Sydney, I said, I'm going to get the Invictus tattoo. Everyone does it. It's like having Olympic rings, but in Invictus form. And I thought, well, this is my Olympics. Let's get a tattoo. And yeah, I've never had a tattoo before. My dad is kind of against them. He was like, what are you doing to your body? And I was like, but if I went to the Olympics, I'll have the rings. At least it means something. And he was fine. And then, I decided to get the Hague added with a little C for captain. And now the running joke is 2020, COVID happened. And so now the C stands for COVID in 2020.
Right.
And at first I was going to change it to ONE with the last 0 to make 2021.
Okay.
But now 2022 makes it a little bit more difficult. So I might just leave it as it is and it will just have to be one of those things.
One of those things.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can come up with something. Maybe put the one there and then cross both of those out. And literally make a list.
Or put an asterisk and put it somewhere else.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Yeah, I think it's funny, but I like it. Like the only reason I wanted this tattoo is just to remind myself what I've achieved and don't forget what you've done in life.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad day, just have a look and go, I am invincible. I am unconquered, and I can do it.
Yeah.
You just got to get past this bad phase and you'll get there.
Would it be all right to take a picture of that later?
Yeah,
so
sure.
we can put it on the video so people can see it.
Yeah, definitely. It's and any suggestions?
Yeah.
Of how to. I might do a bit of embellishment, maybe a background flag. I don't know.
We'll see.
Get your markers out.
But at the time that your episode goes live, it's 6 months out, right, from the games.
So hopefully, it'll be shortly after. We should be starting to train together as a team. We're looking at November time, repeating exactly what we did in 2019. So it'd be November to probably March time training, and then a bit of recovery before getting ready for April games.
That'd be great.
So they're a month earlier this time, but still going ahead. So that's still the main part. We still get to finish what we started.
Yeah.
And if we can conquer our injuries, our illnesses, our mental, physical health and COVID, I think we can smash the rest of our lives.
Exactly.
And just, keep doing the best we can.
Yeah, and no doubt your confidence will grow and therefore
definitely
the aim of these games will be there and will be conquered. So
definitely. I wouldn't have even done this interview if it was Sydney time. I would have just said, no, sorry, I'm not talking.
Is that true? Is that
yeah.
Okay.
I did no talking, no storytelling or interviews or anything until I went to Sydney. And obviously what the media do like is, yes, you have medals. And so I was sort of put into a situation where you don't have to, but it would be good. And I was like, why not? Let's have a moment where I don't moan about myself and someone actually praises me and I'm happy about it. And that's how I actually accepted talking about my story. And I'm more open to it. And the memories still come back, but now I see the positive sides. And, just because I'm left-handed now, yes, I can't do left-handed jokes anymore or make fun of any lefties because I am one. Yeah. But it's just one of those where that's what helps. And this opens me up every time I do it. So, yeah.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the show for sure. And also good luck to you and the Team UK, of course. The others, we wish you luck. But obviously we're going to be rooting for Team UK at The Hague in 2022. So lastly, your injury, how's that going? Is it kind of stable now?
So it's still slowly got worse over time. So it's sort of gone up to the shoulder. So you could probably see that was a bit further forward. And it's sort of the whole arm now. So I tend to have it on my lap quite a lot, just to take the weight off my arm. I can, if I do move it, it will tremor.
Okay.
So I just don't move it.
Okay.
But it's got to a point where the team that I see, they have said it's a neurological disorder. There's nothing I can do about it. We've tried every specialist neurophysio treatment that works, inpatient, outpatient, and nothing has got, it's still progressed over time and got worse. So I'm at that point where I did ask for amputation, but they said potentially that wouldn't work because it being nerve-related injury, it could affect my left arm.
Okay.
And so they don't want to risk me being no-armed than with one arm and one arm that's on me, but I just don't have any physical use of it.
Okay.
So, at the moment, I can't really do much with the right arm apart from it just hangs there. And it's painful all the time, but, right meds and the right attitude gets you a long way. And just gets a cracking on with life now,
Yeah.
I know there's nothing that will get it better anymore. We've tried it all, and I think that helps, But it's just a case of enjoying. I'm still in my job now. Still, I've worked there. It'll be 3 years in August, but I've worked at Stamford Hall and still love it, still enjoy it, still do sport for fun without criticising, and I've accepted I'm one-armed. So I'm very happy at the moment, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I feel we've come to the end of the podcast, and you've shared so many great things. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to share some advice, maybe for people that are contemplating joining the military. Sure. and obviously your experience within the RAF. Do you have any advice for those people thinking of joining?
Yes. So even if you have that thought, that means that you are looking into it. You've probably decided what service maybe, or you're not quite sure on what job. But the attitude I had, which I think worked, was give it a go. You could always leave. Just because you're signing a contract doesn't mean you have to play it out. You can say, I want to leave. And give it a go. It doesn't matter what your background is, your income, your family, whether you've had a good upbringing, bad upbringing, it really caters for absolutely everyone. And I loved it. It definitely built me as an adult, and it can really help you to grow up and enjoy life and have this new sort of military family. And I would say even if you think about it, why not? What's stopping you from doing it? It's have that attitude, give it a go, and see where it takes you.
Yeah, great advice. And also for veterans, so people that have maybe been out for a while, or even people that are about to leave the military, any advice for them?
I would say, yes, it might feel like your world is crushing down on you and you feel useless and hopeless and you've let people down in your life. But just remember that every small thing in life goes a long way. So the fact that you've woken up today, you've made your bed, you've brushed your teeth, you've done your hair, you've had a shave. All of those are goals. Just because you maybe have lost your career or you don't have or you can't work again, just try and think of all the small things in life, and that will slowly build you there. It just takes time. And yes, asking for help can feel like it's really hard to do, or you simply don't want to ask for help, but you want that help yourself. Even if you just try and find a hobby, it doesn't have to be sport like I did. It could be absolutely anything. And through that hobby, you'll make a new friend. And through that new friend, you'll have extra support that maybe isn't within your four walls at home. And it just might take your mind off your current situation and just try and think of all the positive things in every small goal of every day.
Excellent advice. Very good.
Surprised myself there. I need to listen to my own advice sometimes, but yeah, give it a go. That's all you can do, and try it. If it doesn't work out, you don't like it, don't do it. Try something else.
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping you except you. So just try and be brave. take that little nudge forward, see where it opens.
Maybe you could listen back to this
I should.
this episode later.
Be my ringtone. You can do it.
Well, this has been great. We have come to the end, but how was it for you? Was it as you expected?
Better.
Better?
Definitely.
Oh, good.
I didn't expect, my room to be in such an awesome technological room. No, it's great. You've, you put me at ease. I've opened up. I'm happy. I'm smiling.
Great.
And it was great to be part of. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Not a problem at all. And I just want to thank you. So thank you for sharing everything you have and also giving up some of your time. We don't have infinite amount of it, right? So I just thank you for giving up some of that time for today.
Thank you.
And lastly, as I do say to all of my guests, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
People don't know how to respond to that from the British.
I'm like, I like it. But, you just think, that is nice. You don't hear it enough.
No,
I think that's it.
And
So.
I think it definitely does its purpose. So
Definitely.
it's a good way to end such a great episode. So thank you once more, Rach. This has been Military Veterans Podcast, out.